The princess is dead, long live the princess. We have plenty to chat about in this episode. Oh, and P.S. F*** Larry Strong.
Lord as a match.
First off, I want to acknowledge the elephant in the room and get that out of the way. If you don't care about the time skip, well, I've got timestamps below so you can skip to that next section. Honestly, I had a rather negative reaction to this time skip because the episode felt like it had hit a big fat reset button. It got me thinking, what was the point of the previous 5 episodes? They were wonderful episodes, but a lot of what it did was add context and a lot of background. Those are important, don't get me wrong, but it felt like they had to refill a lot of blanks and reintroduce us to a new world in this episode. As an experiment, I would have loved to introduce a hot D newbie to the show through episode 6 and see how confused they would be. From the opening scenes, we know the princess and queen are not on good terms. The princess is having extramarital affairs with Sir Harwin, and her husband is agreeable to the situation as he is chasing his own desires. The queen is very upset with the princess for the flaunting of this lifestyle.
To have one child like that is a mistake. To have 3 is an insult.
And thus accidentally sets in motion the killing of the king's hand to strengthen her own hand. Again, what we would lose is a lot of backstory, which you can ultimately decide how important that is once you have the whole picture. It felt like a pilot episode. I couldn't tell if it was Sapochnik's directing, who also directed episode 1, or that the storyline itself was just so reminiscent of episode 1 and trying to establish a world. Now, my biggest grievance is the loss of Millie Alcock and Emily Carey. If we had started with episode 6, I wouldn't have fallen in love with the portrayal of these characters by these fine actresses. They were incredible, especially considering the young ages of both these ladies. They just seem rather different to their older counterparts, which is to be expected. I wish I had known last week's episode was their last, as I would have sang their praises there, instead of old Paddy the Unkillable. It's just annoying to see so many things switched up yet again, and some characters who were barely introduced seem to have a big change like Rhaenyra. Do I think Olivia Cook and Emma Darcy are doing a bad job? No. If they were the first ones I had seen in the role, I may not have had this reaction, but I've complained in previous reviews how time skips can be jarring, and this one just made me think, what's the bloody point? If you want to know why they added the time jumps, I believe it was at George's request. He seemed very adamant that this show have those time skips to show the early days of this feud and give it more background, and I believe it was part of the reason it had failed a couple of times to get off the ground until they finally found an agreeable partnership. So, I guess blame George? He has an obsession with wanting time skips in his stories. I just wish he could skip to A Dream of Spring and finish the damn books. Let's break this down by household again, starting with everyone's favourite family, House Targaryen. The opening scene is an exceptionally intimate scene with Rhaenyra giving birth. It's almost as if it's the audience's child coming into the world because we're given a 3-minute uncut scene of the delivery. It truly makes you feel you're part of the scene. When you think of it in terms of production, it's really well done as you're entirely gripped by what's happening. It's done so well you actually forget this is a show and could easily mistake it for a live birth. They don't skimp out on the details either, as we see how they cut the cord as well as the afterbirth, which is often glossed over in shows. These Song of Ice and Fire shows like to keep you in the nitty gritty, warts and all, and I enjoy that. Throughout the episode, we're treated to multiple long takes. This can range from 50 seconds up to around 3 minutes, with the opening being the longest, which is immediately followed by Rhaenyra's walk to the Queen's chambers, which is an additional 2 minutes and 30 seconds. It's become a staple of Sapochnik's work on Game of Thrones. Who could ever forget that tracking shot in Battle of the Bastards? These long shots are a testament to the talented crew, but also the incredible production team. These sets would have been built, and the way they follow Rhaenyra from her room to the Queen's chambers is staggering when you consider this is a set built for the series. It really helps immerse you in the show. Enough fawning over production values, because the show opens with Rhaenyra, it makes sense to start there. I was super curious how they would handle the idea that she was screwing around and how her children's heritage would be questioned. In this episode, they pulled no punches, and there's no ambiguity around who the father is and isn't to Rhaenyra's children. It's an open secret amongst those in the castle, though Rhaenyra will still claim the children as his. After all, they do share some of his features.
I do believe he has his father's nose.
This is the core of the main conflict of the episode, the paternity of Rhaenyra's children and the indignity of it all. As per the agreement between Rhaenyra and Laenor, they are content with their lives with one another, going to and fro as they wish, although Rhaenyra does begin to tighten the leash with rumours growing stronger, especially after her journey through the secret tunnel system. That, by the way, was a very nice touch to see in action, really helped paint a picture of how you could imagine Varys getting around the keep a couple of centuries later and gaining secrets, or his little birds for example. It was also interesting to see Laenor harbouring no ill will towards Sir Harwin. Cole really did fumble the bag here, right? He could have had something. It really reminded me of The Prestige, where Christian Bale's character talks about how he only had half a life, but that was enough for him and his brother. Though I have to ask, there's a 10-year gap between episodes 5 and 6, and I'm not 100% sure on how old Jacaerys is, the eldest son of Rhaenyra. It can't be Cole's, right? The reason I want to ask is that the courtyard scene paints another picture for me. Not only is it a pissing contest between Cole and Harwin to reveal Harwin's open secret to the point you have to address it, but it would also be Cole having to see the result of his dishonour every day. Oof, layers. I think they're all supposed to be Sir Harwin's though, so rejoice Raywin fans. For now. It's a shame to see Rhaenyra so desperate and beaten by the end of the episode. Alicent has grown in power and influence in an official capacity as she's on the small council, and she tries to exert her power by calling an end to the meeting, only for Rhaenyra to call it back as she tries to make amends with Alicent by reuniting the House of the Dragon through the marriage of Jacaerys and Helena, which Alicent isn't keen on at all and instead draws attention to Rhaenyra's leakage to embarrass her. Again, by episode's end, Rhaenyra leaves for Dragonstone with Laenor and his paramour in tow, and it will be a costly mistake. Laenor says that the reason they stayed for so long was to keep everyone on side. Leaving now is basically going to undo a lot of that, because they'll be out of sight and out of mind, and Alicent will have free reign to gain people's support. In a positive turn of events, these past 10 years have been kind to Daemon, who seems to have mellowed out a lot but is obsessed with the history of the Targaryens. It was unusual to see him this relaxed. He has a wife in Laenor and 2 children and an offer of owning lands in Pentos if he'll protect them with his dragons from the return of the Triarchy. He's enjoying the lack of political games, but he's lost that fire. He isn't at home in Pentos, but I think we should pay attention to the fact he's really lost himself in books about the Valyrians. This feels like it might tie back to Viserys and the prophecy of the prince that was promised. Does Daemon know of this? Why is he so invested in finding out about the histories of his people? By the episode's end though, he loses his wife to childbirth as she commits suicide rather than be cut open like Aemma Targaryen. It was an interesting contrast. I couldn't tell what decision Daemon was going to make, which is surprising that he was indecisive whilst his wife took matters into her own hands and died the death she wanted. I guess her daughter will be able to try and claim Vago though. Although Daemon doesn't seem emotionally capable of helping his children grieve, that's just not his forte it seems. If Daemon returns to King's Landing with his children, that's something Viserys won't be able to ignore because it's the combination of a Targaryen and a Velaryon, and you'll soon see the contrast in Rhaenyra and Laenor's children. So maybe it's best he keeps away. On to Alicent. Alicent really has fallen far in these past 10 years. She tries to hold herself to a higher standard as she chastised Cole's use of language about Rhaenyra, but she's practically a complete hypocrite. She's part of a kingslaying, unwilling or not, but kingslaying is a huge no-no in Westeros. And now she's put in an awkward situation by Larys, who is now the head of House Strong and owner of Harrenhal. She talks of honor and the old ways and is disgusted by Rhaenyra's infidelity. However, she won't bat an eyelid as her son Aegon is wanking off over the city. The boy is doomed to be a bit of a spoiled cunt. Aegon has real potential to be the next Joffrey. No, not that one, this one. He doesn't own up to being part of the plan to mock his brother with the pink dread, passing that blame onto Jacaerys and Luke. He makes the servants of the house nervous, and he's got a real bully mentality to him, even if he's a bit of a thicko. Alicent only really seems to share a connection with Aegon and Aemond. She seems to have a distant one with Rhaenyra, her daughter, who seems a little odd. I couldn't tell if she was just talking about the insects or something more of this line of dialogue.
You will have a dragon one day.
You'll have to close an eye.
I know it.
I think she's going to be a very interesting character moving forward. Maybe she has some gift of prophecy or foresight. I don't know. What she was saying was strange. Really, it's ironic how she accuses Viserys of being blind to his own daughter when she's guilty of the same crime with Aegon. Oh, and poor Viserys. My boy is slowly turning into Seth Brundle. I wonder if he keeps things in jars. You really have to feel for the ill king. He just wants a family that gets along, but at every turn it's being pulled apart. Be it his daughter fighting with his wife rejecting the marriage proposal of Jacaerys and Rhaenyra, or watching his sons and grandsons pitted against each other in the courtyard. The man just wants a simple life and he can't get it. At this point he's probably willing for his own head to drop off so he doesn't have to put up with any more of it. He's clearly yearning for the past as he holds onto Emma's ring alone at night as the rats continue to infect his castle. He's lost his hand in more than one way and who knows what's next. Maybe yearning for the past will allow him to accept Otto back, or maybe Daemon will slide into that position. I mean, just imagine how pissed off Daemon will be if he tries to reconcile with Viserys, only for Otto to be chosen over him again. Oof. Last but not least, let's all say a prayer for the Strong household. They'll be sorely missed by me and probably most of the Targaryen household, and it seems they were indeed honourable. It's just a shame they've got Larys to counterbalance that all. He's going to be a fantastic villain, a real bastard you love to hate. Littlefinger reborn. I hope he meets his end in a gruesome fashion, but I'll be paying close attention to anyone with a golden bee sigil. It is a bee, right? The man will pack quite the sting as he has Alicent in his debt and he'll probably claim a high position, maybe try and make a play for a hand of the king, but he's a smart man and tries to cover his tracks. He ensures those criminals he pardoned had their tongues removed so they wouldn't be able to rat on him, I assume. Similar to what Varys did with his little birds. Rest in peace, Raywin. It was a ship I didn't see coming and never really got to see play out on screen. But I imagine a bunch of fans are mourning the loss of Sir Harwin as we're left with Cole and Larys. Life's not fair, eh? Last thing from me, I want to say a huge welcome to the new subscribers to the channel. The last video was massive for me and I spent a lot of the weekend engaging in fun conversations with you all in the comments. I hope to see you there again. Let me know if you think Jacaerys is Cole's son. Oh, and what did you think of the time skip? Was it a big deal for you or not? See you in the next one.